don't know about you, but I've made some really silly mistakes in the past. Anyways, as with any new game, and in particular gachas, there is always going to be plenty of systems and currencies to learn. And you definitely don't want to look silly by making a mistake like wasting premium currency on the wrong thing. So I'm here to help. This video is going to cover everything you need to know and all the tips for brand new players to jump straight into Reverse 1999 and not make any of those silly mistakes. And also thank you to Reverse 1999 and Bluepock Games for giving me early access to the game so that I can play the game and get quite far so I can make all the silly mistakes and you don't have to. So special thank you once again to Bluepock Games for providing access and supporting the channel. So I'm going to try to make this video short and as direct as possible, but I've left timestamps down below so you can skip wherever you want and whatever you want to learn the most about. And you can even come back in case you forgot anything, though I would recommend watching the whole thing to make sure you don't miss any tips. Okay, so first and foremost, I want to talk about all the different currencies. There are going to be a lot, and this might not be what you're most interested in, but definitely it's one of the most important ones and where most beginners make the most mistakes. Starting with the single most important currency in a gacha, the premium currency used to pull characters. So there's two different currencies here. There's clear drops and there's crystal drops. Crystal drops is the paid version of clear drops. You pay money for this and you can turn it into clear drops and buy other stuff with it. Clear drops you get from just playing the game, events, and that sort of thing. So with the premium currency, you can buy something called a Unilog, and that is essentially one pull. So 180 of your clear drops works out to be one single pull. Currently there's only one type of pull in the game, which is the Unilog, so make sure do not waste your crystal drops, your clear drops, or your Unilogs, and only use them when you're ready to pull. Next up we have something called Sharpodonti, and this is your generic gold or credit currency. Every single thing that you can think of that levels up pretty much uses this. The good thing is, fortunately, we don't have to farm it too much, especially early game. The game just gives you a lot of it from playing the game and from the events, so don't stress too much about this for now. And even if you did want to get more, you can play more story or specifically just farm for this as well. Next up, we have Dust. So these are the two main currencies for leveling your character. Think of this as character XP. So anytime you want to level a character, you're going to need the gold equivalent and you're going to need character XP. How do you get Dust? It's pretty much the same thing. Playing the story will get it to you. You can farm it specifically, and a lot of the events just give it out as well. Of course, you can also just buy it, but we'll touch on the shop a little bit later. Next up, we have something called cellular activities. This is your energy system, your resin if you play Genshin. Pretty much anytime you want to farm something, you need this. This will naturally regenerate over time, or if you have any of these limited items, it's essentially energy in a bottle. Anytime you want to play more, you can pop one of these and you can continue, or you can even use premium currency to get more energy as well. Those are the basic currencies you need to care about. Your premium currency, how do you level up characters, and what resource do you need to actually play the game. If you're a little bit further ahead, we're going to touch on a couple remaining currencies. Next up, we have Track of the Lost and Album of the Lost. These are essentially dust left over from pulling a character, some of which we get from normal pulling and some of which we get from getting duplicates. And if you've played Genshin, Honkai Star, or any of these sort of games, they usually let you use this dust to buy materials in the game. So here you can buy level up materials, or if you have enough copies, you can actually buy copies of a character or additional pulls. Currently, I'm not sure if it's worth using the currency to just buy a single pull. It seems pretty expensive, though it sounds like saving for a character might take a while, but might be worth it as well. Other than that, you've also got another currency called Thought Elements or Thought of Eternity. Like I said, there's a lot of currencies. Don't get overwhelmed. The core ones we've mentioned before, this is just if you get a little bit later on, but essentially this is a reward for completing challenges known as Numa Analysis. When you complete it, it gives you these currencies that you can use to buy these are weapons, or you can use it to buy enhancement material. So this is to level up your characters and ascend them essentially. You will get some of this in the future. Don't stress too much early on if you haven't got any of this. Not that important yet. We've also got something called Wilderness Shells. These are essentially to level up our wilderness. It's something I'll explain later, but think of it as a AFK farming area, a teapot, essentially something where you can base build and get free materials. But we'll touch on it in a little bit. And the final last currency is obtained from something called Artificial Somnam Somnambulism. Anyways, this area is something like a refresh challenge system that works every single week. So think of Abyss in Genshin. It's a challenge area. You can go and compete here. Earlier levels are easier, later levels get harder. Depending on how far you get a currency as well. And it's called Honoric Fluid. And you can spend it in the Honoric shop. This once again is your enhancement material that we were looking at just earlier. Can be pretty useful. And you seem to be able to buy some other stuff later, but I haven't got that far yet. So I know it took a while, but that is every single currency that is crucial for the start in order for you to play the game. Honestly, you only need to know the first couple ones I talked about, but that should cover everything for the first, 10-20 hours of gameplay. So next up, how do you actually progress the game? Okay, I know the currencies, I'm not going to waste them randomly, but how do I actually progress the game? How do I unlock everything? Well, that's through over here. So when we click enter, this takes us to our story, which is the main way you're going to progress in the early game. You're going to have different missions here. Essentially, each mission has two versions. You have a story version and a hard version. Each time you beat it for the first time, you'll get some materials as well. But pushing through this, some of these will just be cutscenes and dialogue. A lot of these involve combat. One of the main draws for me, at least, is the story. So you get to do two things in one. You enjoy the story and you get to push through and unlock things. This is definitely where I would spend most of my time. Some of these activities do cost energy to go through. So this one is a story quest, so it doesn't really need it. But the cellular activities we were talking about before, this one, if we want to try it again, it's going to cost some. So you can see here, 12 cellular activity. We've got 300 if we do complete it. The good thing is if you lose, you get it all back, or you can cancel midway. But if you win, it's going to take that energy away from you and you're going to get the rewards. Outside of this, you do have a couple other things you can push through. We did talk about the artificial, don't make me say it again. Please don't make me say it again. Artificial somnambulism. What a mouthful. As you progress through this, you're going to unlock stuff. This is kind of like end game content, but you can actually start now. Don't stress it too much. You've also got tutorials that are littered throughout this as well. These golden stars give you a little bit more context about the lore, or some of them are tutorials. And each day you do have a list of daily tasks that you should be trying to get through that are going to give you materials as well. So some pulling currency, some gold, some character XP, all super important stuff. And if you get far enough along, you've also got weeklies as well, which give you even more rewards. So that covers how you're going to unlock everything and all the currencies. But what else can you do in the game? Well, we've got a couple buttons over here. The suitcase or the briefcase, this gives you the battle pass. You've got the free version and you've got the paid version. Essentially, paid version gives you some pulls and more enhancement materials. The top one also gives you some pull currency as well, obviously not as much. And this does give you a direction of what to do each day, week, and otherwise. We've also got the box. This is a list of every single live event currently in the game. I would recommend coming here every single day to make sure that you've done all the events that you can. Currently, there is an 8-day login bonus with a free character at the end, so make sure you grab that as well. A lot of free pulls, a lot of materials, and a 5-star character called don't make me pronounce it again. But yeah, there's a lot of beginner related events. You can see here, gives you a lot of stuff, the tutorial, and you can actually find the Abyss equivalent, I can't pronounce. Finally, last couple things, you've got warehouse and you've got crew. This shows you your materials, and your crew shows you every single character that you own. And finally, we've got the wilderness. This is what I was talking about before. It is essentially a base building part of the game where you can collect materials just by building your base while you're AFK. Leveling them up gives you rewards as well, so you definitely do it. And you can even place your characters on the map as well. So super fun, lots to do here. If you're into this sort of thing, I'm sure you're gonna have a great time. You can customize it, you can show off how great your base looks. Definitely something to look into outside of playing the core game. Okay, onto the gacha. Like any gacha game, it's going to be a big part of the game, and understanding how it works is going to be crucial for you to get the most value, especially if you're new and free to play. Characters in this game range from 6 stars all the way down to just 2 stars. Usually this represents their strength, as they gain stats differently based on their rarity, and they can even progress further the higher stars they are as well. From the start, there are going to be several banners, but the beginner banner, the one I'm looking at right now, is the most important one and the one you're definitely going to want to pull for. So this one here has a guaranteed 6-star character at 30 pulls. This is going to be the easiest way for you to get a strong unit early game, so make sure you pull here first. Looking at the rest of the banners, you can see that these 2 banners here actually have a time limit with a character rate up for these characters. This one is literally just a sword. This looks like it should be something in Five Nights at Freddy's, but anyways, this is a guide video. The final banner appears to be the permanent banner that you can pull on any time, so I would probably avoid this if you can and focus on one of these 2 characters. So far I've tried both, they are pretty solid, so I would start here after pulling on the beginner banner. Like I mentioned before, there's only 1 pull currency, they're all called Unilog, so make sure do not waste these on the standard banner. Do the beginner banner first for an easy 6-star, and then work on one of these two banners, whichever character you like more. We should probably talk about this as well. The rates are displayed here, so it shows off the rates of the 6 stars, the 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, and 2 stars. This does not actually include the soft pity rate, and once we include that, it works out to roughly be a 6-star every 40 to 50 pulls, so not too bad. So we've covered a lot already, now onto the combat. The combat is something similar to Pokemon, with each unit having a typing known as an Afflatus. So you can see here how the Afflatus works. Basically, if you beat the corresponding element, you're going to do 30% more damage than a weaker Afflatus. If you want, you can remember these different elements. I kind of think of it as almost like Pokemon: fire beats grass, grass beats water, water beats ground, ground beats fire, and then these just beat each other. But outside of this, there are going to be certain challenges or different battles where this actually plays another effect as well. For example, I recently did a challenge where if I'm the weaker Afflatus, I actually do less damage as well. So it goes both ways, and it's essentially turning the wheel backwards too. So the game is done by selecting different cards. Eventually, you're going to unlock 3 cards, which represents your 3 characters and gives you 3 different moves. When selecting cards, you generally want to start with things like debuffs first, then buffs on your teammates, and then attacks. That is, of course, unless that stops you from merging cards. So there's 2 ways of merging cards. The first is by using all the different cards in between 2, and then they'll merge automatically. Or you can actually manually move cards around, and when you have 2 cards of the exact same type, they'll merge and become a stronger card. So currently this card will do 180 damage, but if I put 2 together and then I hover over it again, it now does 270 damage on a single unit. And then if I merge 2 of these cards, which are both 2 stars together, then we get a 3-star one, which is even stronger. In this example, this is only giving us more damage, but some cards when merged together get new effects as well. So pretty much the general combat, try to merge as many cards as you can, use your stronger abilities, which are super effective, and eventually you're going to get an ultimate, and make sure to use that as well. So once your characters have used 5 different moves, they're going to unlock their ultimate, which is going to have an awesome animation and do usually a ton of damage or a really strong effect. So when they come up, make sure to use them as well. Eventually you're going to hit a point in the story where it gets kind of hard, and there's going to be 2 ways of getting around that. The first is the traditional way, getting newer, stronger characters through the gacha. Did I just get 2 6 stars? What the f is this luck? The second way is you're gonna have to level up the characters that you currently have. So how do we do that? First we go to crew, we pick the character we want to level up, and here we're gonna see their level. There's also gonna be something called insight. This is essentially their ascension, so each time you ascend, the character gets reset back to level 1. So like I mentioned before, you got Dust and you got Sharpodonte. You use these to level up, you can hold it down for convenience, and once you max out the level, you have something called insight. And once here, you're gonna have to farm a bunch of different materials in order to actually ascend them to the next level and get that next insight. So once you've farmed everything up, you'll be able to ascend their insights, confirm, and their outfit's going to change as well, which is an awesome detail. And once doing that, you're going to get increased stats, you're going to get the ability to level up even more, but there's a couple other ways of strengthening your characters as well. So outside of your level and insight, there's 3 other ways to strengthen your character. The first is your Psycube preference, which is essentially your weapon. And leveling this up or adding more amplifications, which is how many copies you have merged together, is going to give you a stronger effect and more damage and stats. Other than that, you've got your Portrait. This is essentially the number of copies you have, your constellations. For some of the rarer characters, this is going to be pretty hard to get, but some of these do have really powerful effects as well. And finally, we have Resonate, which is this game's version of Gear. How do we actually use it? Well, first, you can actually level it up, which gives you more options and stronger stats. But to actually load it out, you get a bunch of different jigsaw pieces. Almost like Tetris, you get to put the pieces in, rotate them, and somehow try to make them all fit. So based on whatever you're trying to build at the time, you can rearrange the pieces like this and try to fit in as many as you can for the maximum bonus possible. Just try to make sure you fill in every single space so you don't waste anything as well. There's also a quick loadout button if you're too lazy to do that, but I think this is actually pretty fun. Once again, leveling this up is going to make them stronger and also give you way more options and different size pieces to slot in there. That's it. That's everything you need to know as a beginner to pick up Reverse 1999 straight away, and to make sure you don't make any of those rookie beginner mistakes. All of these tips are for version 1.0, but should still be consistent for future versions as well. And speaking of future versions, I've heard from the devs that the the game is already getting a patch 1.1 with more exciting content to come on the 9th of November. So hopefully you're as excited as I am to check it out and see what they've got in store for us. Once again, special thank you to Reverse 1999 and Bluepoint Games for allowing me to have early access to the game and sponsoring and supporting the channel as well. Be sure to check out the pinned comment and the description if you haven't already to check out this game, and let me know if you want to see more content about Reverse 1999, especially because I've been having a blast with it. The game is free, it looks gorgeous, and I want you guys to try and experience it as well. Thank you again, bullies, for watching and always supporting, and I'll see you all in the next video.